Did you know there are billion-dollar airports around the world that were built and then abandoned? Yep, massive high-tech facilities that were supposed to handle millions of passengers but now sit eerily empty. From runways with no planes to terminals filled with silence, these airports became some of the biggest financial disasters in aviation history. So, what went wrong, and why did they fail so badly? Stick around as we explore 8 ghost airports that cost billions but were never used. Ciudad, Real Central Airport, Spain. Alright, picture this. You're in Spain, standing in front of a massive billion-dollar airport with gleaming glass terminals, state-of-the-art runways, and not a single soul in sight. No crowds, no flights, just silence. Sounds eerie, right? Welcome to Ciudad, Real Central Airport, one of the most expensive ghost airports ever built. The vision? A bustling international hub that would take the load off Madrid's busy airport. The reality? A complete disaster. Opened in 2009 with an insane price tag of over 1 billion euros, the airport barely had any airlines interested. It was built in the middle of nowhere, about 200 kilometers from Madrid, making it inconvenient for travelers. And guess what? Less than 4 years after opening, it shut down. But here's the crazy part. The airport was put up for auction in 2015. And while you'd expect such a massive project to be worth a fortune, it was initially sold for just 10,000 euros, less than the price of a used car. Eventually it found a new owner, but to this day, it remains a cautionary tale of overambition, poor planning, and a colossal waste of taxpayer money. Would you visit a billion-dollar ghost airport just for fun? Let me know in the comments. Berlin Brandenburg Airport, Germany. Alright, imagine you're flying to Berlin, expecting to land in Germany's brand new state-of-the-art airport. But instead, you land at an old crowded terminal. Why? Because Berlin Brandenburg Airport was a disaster before it even opened. This airport was meant to be Germany's crown jewel of aviation, a modern hub designed to replace Berlin's outdated airports and handle 27 million passengers a year. Sounds impressive, right? But here's the jaw-dropping part. Construction started in 2006, with an opening date set for 2011. And yet, it didn't open until 2020. Yep, nearly a decade late. So what went wrong? Everything. A long list of engineering disasters, fire safety issues, corruption scandals, and financial mismanagement turned BER into a national embarrassment. The delays were so bad that the airport had to keep paying for staff and maintenance, even though it wasn't operating. Billions were wasted, and by the time it finally opened, it was already outdated compared to modern airports. Want to hear something even crazier? The airport is still struggling today, operating under capacity and facing financial losses. Some even argue it should have never opened at all. Would you trust an airport that took almost 15 years to get right? Let me know what you think. Mirabel International Airport, Canada. Imagine this. You're standing in the middle of a massive airport, one of the biggest in the world, but instead of hearing flight announcements, you hear nothing. No passengers, no bustling terminals, just an eerie silence. Welcome to Mirabel International Airport, a multi-billion-dollar ghost town. Built in 1975, Mirabel was meant to be the future of Canadian aviation, so big that it covered almost twice the size of New York City. Planners were so confident that they even predicted Montreal would outgrow its current airport within years. But guess what? That never happened. Instead, Mirabel failed spectacularly. Why? Well, for starters, it was located nearly 60 kilometers from downtown Montreal, making it inconvenient for travelers. To make things worse, airlines refused to move their international flights to Mirabel because the existing Dorval Airport was much closer to the city. By the early 2000s, all passenger flights were gone, and the airport became nothing more than an empty shell. The craziest part? Billions were spent on an airport that was barely used. Eventually, Mirabel was abandoned, with most of it demolished in 2014. Today it's used as a movie set and a racing track, a bizarre fate for what was once supposed to be North America's next great aviation hub. Would you ever visit an airport that became a Hollywood film set? Let me know in the comments. Mattala Rajapaksa International Airport, Sri Lanka. Alright, get this, an airport so empty and underused that it earned the title of World's Emptiest Airport. That's right, I'm talking about Mattala Rajapaksa International Airport in Sri Lanka, a billion-dollar failure that barely sees any flights. Built in 2013 with an investment of nearly $210 million, this airport was part of a grand vision to boost tourism and economic growth in Sri Lanka. The problem? No one wanted to use it. The airport was located far from the capital city. In an area with almost no demand for international flights, airlines quickly realized that flying to Mattala was financially unsustainable. And within a few years, most of them pulled out completely. And here's where it gets even crazier. Because the airport was sitting almost entirely empty, the government started renting it out for bizarre uses. At one point, the terminal was used as a rice storage facility. Yes, you heard that right, an international airport storing bags of rice instead of passengers. Today, Mattala still exists, but it remains one of the most underused airports in the world. Some say it should just be shut down, while others believe it could still be revived. What do you think? Should they keep trying or just accept defeat? Drop your thoughts below. Castellón, Costa, Azahar Airport, Spain. Imagine cutting the ribbon on a brand new €150 million airport, cameras flashing, politicians smiling, and then realizing no airline wants to use it. That's exactly what happened with Castellón Costa Azahar Airport, a Spanish ghost airport that became a symbol of wasted money. Opened in 2011, this airport was supposed to boost tourism along Spain's eastern coast. The problem? There were no flights, no passengers, and no demand. They built an airport for tourists, but forgot to check if tourists even wanted to come. It stood completely empty for years, with its only visitors being curious travelers who came just to see a giant, unused airport. But here's where it gets even crazier. At one point, the airport became famous for having a massive statue of a local politician, the same guy who pushed for its construction. Imagine wasting millions on an airport and building a statue of yourself in front of it. For years, it was a complete joke, but eventually a few budget airlines started using it. Still, for an airport that cost millions to build, it never became the success Spain had hoped for. Would you ever visit a ghost airport just to take a selfie? Let me know in the comments. Sde Dov Airport, Israel. Now, here's an airport that had a long history but a strange ending. Sde Dov Airport in Tel Aviv. Unlike the other ghost airports on this list, Sde Dov was actually busy for decades. But in 2019 it suddenly shut down forever, leaving behind a hauntingly empty runway in the middle of a city. Built in 1938, Sde Dov was Israel's main domestic airport, connecting Tel Aviv to other parts of the country. It was small, but it was busy, handling hundreds of flights a day. So why was it shut down? Real estate. The land it sat on was worth billions, and the government decided to demolish the airport to make way for luxury apartments. Sounds simple, right? Well, not exactly. The airport's sudden closure caused chaos for travelers, especially for those who relied on it for quick flights between Tel Aviv and Eilat. Even after it closed, there were debates about whether it should have been saved. Some argued that Tel Aviv needed the airport, while others saw the real estate profits as more important. Today, all that's left of Sde Dov is an empty piece of land, waiting to be turned into expensive skyscrapers. Would you rather have an airport or luxury apartments? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Ciudad Airport, Samoa. Alright, imagine this. A brand new airport is built on a beautiful Pacific island, promising to boost tourism, create jobs, and open up new travel routes. But instead of welcoming travelers, it ends up abandoned before it even starts. Welcome to Ciudad Airport in Samoa, a project that went nowhere. Announced in 2018, Ciudad Airport was supposed to be Samoa's backup international airport. A plan that made sense considering natural disasters often disrupt flights at the main airport. The government poured millions into construction, but almost immediately, problems started piling up. First, the airport was built too close to the ocean, making it prone to flooding. Then came land disputes with local communities, slowing construction even more. By the time the government realized these issues, they had already spent millions, and the airport was still unfinished. Fast forward to today, Ciudad Airport is technically complete, but it hasn't seen a single commercial flight. It's just there, sitting empty with a perfectly good runway covered in overgrown grass. Some say it's still waiting for the right time to open, while others believe it's just another waste of money. What do you think? Should they keep trying, or is it time to move on? Let me know in the comments. Palmdale Regional Airport, USA. Now, here's an airport that was built with big dreams but ended up as one of America's biggest airport failures. Palmdale Regional Airport in California. It had everything going for it. Huge runways, a perfect location, and a vision to take pressure off Los Angeles International Airport. But instead of thriving, it completely flopped. The idea behind Palmdale was simple. Los Angeles was growing fast, and they needed another airport to handle the overflow. The government spent millions upgrading the airport, and at one point it even became part of Los Angeles World Airports. But here's the catch. No one wanted to use it. The biggest problem? It was too far from LA. Despite all the planning, airlines and passengers found zero reason to fly from Palmdale when they could just use LAX, Burbank, or Ontario airports instead. Commercial airlines tried and failed multiple times to make Palmdale work, but by 2008, all scheduled flights were gone. Today, the airport is mostly used by NASA and the military, but for commercial flights, it's a ghost town. Would you book a flight from a deserted airport just to avoid LA traffic? Let me know in the comments. And that's a wrap on the world's most expensive ghost airports. Crazy how billions can be spent on places that never take off, right? Which one shocked you the most? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed this, hit that like button, subscribe to DwellScape, and turn on notifications for more mind-blowing stories about architecture, travel, and hidden places. See you in the next one.